I'm going to make about 10,000 in just June next month alone. In that 1 month will be what I would have made 6 months at the bank.
So imagine making $10,000 in your first 2 months of starting a brand new business. So that's exactly what Holly did. She's one of our students at Linked Permanent Jewelry Training. And so I wanted to bring her on and have her share some tips and advice on, starting this new business. And so Holly, could you kind of introduce yourself and talk about how you got started in this?
Yeah. So I'm from a very small town in Illinois, and I do hair on the side. Just recently started doing it more full time along with this. So I originally was at a bank full time for a little over a year or so. And I had went to a boutique that had permanent jewelry in a small other town near us, and she was so booked I actually couldn't even get an appointment with her that day. So then I started looking into it, and I'm like, you know what, I kind of think that this might be something that I could add to what I do anyways in the salon. So I reached out to her and asked her like what kind of training she did, what it entailed and whatnot. She actually introduced me to Linked, which was cool, because I had Googled and searched the web on what kind of stuff it entailed, and Linked also came up. So it was just a good validation to jump into Linked. So that was a cool little fact, I guess. But so she helped me a lot. She kind of gave me that jump to actually start, and I'm so thankful that I did.
Awesome. So when you added this to your current hair business, how easy was it to get clients?
Actually a lot easier than I thought. I had some people like my parents for sure, being worried, like, is that a lot of money just to put down on something that you're not sure you'd even like? Or we are in such a small area, if that's something that anyone around here would even be interested in. And I am very shocked with how many people that I never would have thought be interested has gotten 2 or 3 now pieces from me. So that's really neat. I have not had any issues finding any place to set up for pop-ups or private parties. So, I mean, I can't even believe that I've gotten this far only in 2 months. So I'm so excited to see what, next month, for what I've seen, about average on what I make for a pop-up. I'm going to make about 10,000 in just June next month alone. So I have about 11 shows, and I average about 1,000 or more a show. So I have all those scheduled next month, and that's in that 1 month will be what I would have made 6 months at the bank. So, yeah. I mean, that's it. It's so mind blowing to think of. So I actually just left the bank last week. So that way I can dive into this and hair full time. So that's really exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I always love hearing that. It's like, people who want to leave their full-time job that maybe they're not passionate about, and move over to doing something more entrepreneurial. And so being able to, provide you with the tools and resources to do that, it definitely makes me happy because I kind of did the same thing. I left the military to, run my businesses. So, you said you're going to make you've already made about 10 grand the first 2 months, and then your third month you're projected to make at least another 10 grand. And so did you ever think that like, okay, I'm going to start this permanent jewelry business and within a few months I'm going to be making 10 grand a month?
God, no. I mean, it's insane. I mean, my boyfriend, he owns his own business as well, with his parents, a landscaping business. And they're like, what are we doing wrong? Like, they do really great and they're successful. But my boyfriend's like, what the heck? That's awesome. So he's even like, a good hype man for me. And we are both shocked in what I have brought in so far.
So I know you had already done some business stuff with hair, but with the link stuff and the permanent jewelry, did you find any of the marketing materials or the marketing advice helpful to help you really grow that?
Yeah, I did. I felt honestly everything has been super helpful with Linked. I loved that I have access to it still even after finishing the program and training. Because there'd be sometimes, I don't use argon right now. So that's something that I want to try and get, especially I have the first machine. I don't know what it's called, like the
I just call it deluxe.
um
Yeah.
okay, yep. So I have that one. I want to upgrade to the other one and get argon. So I like how I can go back to the videos to, see what all I need to do and touch base again with like the argon.
Yep. And we actually just released like new video content, like a whole new course and stuff that you have access to as well.
Yep, I did see that. That's awesome.
So that's one thing that me and Sarah always want to do is just always keep reinvesting back into our students. That way you guys always have the best, most up to date, educational resources.
Yep, there's a lot of places where once you finished, you're done.
Yeah.
So that's really nice to know that too.
Yep. So do you utilize the Facebook group much?
All the time. I'm always on there, either asking or looking at other people's questions, because I know a lot of people, we all kind of had the similar questions, and some people just don't want to ask or don't know how to. So it's kind of nice to be able to know that we're all thinking a lot alike for the most part and kind of get other ideas off everyone. So I definitely am on there all the time looking at stuff or asking.
Awesome. What would you say your biggest, struggle or hurdle you had to go through when starting this business was?
Honestly, just getting over the fear of just doing it.
Yeah.
That's everyone's fear, is wondering if they're going to succeed in it or not. I would say that was probably the best, kind of like the best and worst thing, because it really pushed me to actually do it. And then I proved myself that I could.
That's awesome. Yeah, and unfortunately, there's so many people out there who have the exact same fears of getting started and not really knowing if they can do it or not. And a lot of those people choose not to do it, and they procrastinate, and then they never follow their dreams. And so the fact that even though you had that fear, you still pushed through it, and now it's paying off tremendously. It's just a beautiful thing to see.
Yep. I don't get me wrong. I still have, fears every
Yeah.
day, obviously that's going to happen. But especially since I just left my 40-hour job with benefits to, this, where it's not always guaranteed, but, you just can't think that way. Sometimes you got to just put one foot in front of the other, keep going and making the best and most of it. And, I love doing this, and I didn't love my other job. So that alone is huge.
Yeah. And I always have a saying, like, if your goals don't scare you, they're not big enough.
Exactly. No, I totally agree.
Awesome. Well, we're definitely glad you chose Linked. For those who are maybe watching and they're like kind of torn between, like, should they try to train themselves? Should they invest in, Linked training? What would you tell them?
I don't see how I could have done this without training, to be honest. So I don't know how anyone could possibly think that they could do this without the support in the community. I even before I started, I was in a different Facebook group that was just like, I think it was called just Permanent Jewelry Community or something. And it was more so, I had the girl that did Linked, that talked to me about it. She added me just to see, since I couldn't be joined into Linked yet, since I wasn't actually enrolled. Even just off of that, I have seen some people in there that said like they didn't need the training. And then being based off of the community that we're in with our Facebook group, you can even just tell the difference of people who've gotten training and who hasn't, whether it be their knowledge or their attitude. A lot of people who don't have training, you can just almost tell in their attitude that they're not like confident, or they're maybe too confident because they're too good for training. But I don't know how I would have done it without it. Because every time I have a question, I go straight to Linked, or the girl who does Inked and Linked, I can't remember her name, but you interviewed her for doing the 8,000 in a
Oh,
day.
yeah, Angela.
Yeah, I actually reached out to her, private messaged her on Instagram. I found her through Linked too, and she's been even great. I've been asking her random questions, bugging her, and she's a great help. And I wouldn't do that without a community like this.
Awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. And yeah, you're right. There's a lot of people out there who and I've seen them on the groups and stuff where they think they're too good for training, or they don't want to invest in themselves. And the problem with that mindset is if you are not willing to invest in yourselves, then nobody's going to invest in you. And so that's why you see those same people, they're struggling to get clients. They're not really they're not very successful compared to like the success stories we're seeing in Linked. And it's just a lot of it comes down to mindset.
Absolutely. Yep. I even reached out. There's a girl that around here that does it. Like starting this, it's kind of funny how like you at one point you never heard of it, and then now that you're in it, you like hear about it everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny, but there's a girl in a town over from me in a different direction from the other one, and I asked her for advice too, and just seeing if she liked it. And you can tell she didn't do training. And I mean, she still does great work and stuff, but just in her attitude and how she wasn't willing to even let me know like where she did her research, where she got her research, anything. She was very standoffish and wasn't helpful. Whereas, the girl previously that I mentioned that did help me with Linked, like you want to see people succeed. And I mean, they're not going to be a threat to you if you know you're good. So, I mean, just like you said, mindset, she had a very negative mindset and attitude with it. And I mean, it just shows, and it's huge.
Yeah, and people will get a sense of that, and that's why like I'm sure you do, and a lot of our Link students, they get a lot of repeat customers because they
Yep.
tend to have a better experience, and like you guys just really are more positive, and I would say probably how to have a good customer experience versus someone who's not necessarily trained on that.
Yeah, I have had a couple people who have traveled to one event to another event, and I'm like, "You look familiar." And she's like, "Yeah, you did my bracelet last month." I'm like, "That's awesome." She came for another one, her and her family. I've had a couple repeat people, and it's a great feeling knowing that they trust me and they came for me, and I know I'll see them again.
Yep, for sure. So some common questions I get are about Argon. You mentioned that earlier. What makes you want to upgrade to Argon, or not upgrade, but add on Argon?
I've just seen a little bit on like videos and stuff where people saying it just makes for a more seamless weld, or that it's doesn't have like that little bit of residue that's left over. Like I'm still trying to perfect my welds every day,
Mhm.
but I see that that might be that extra little boost that I need or want. Um, so that's
Awesome.
hopefully in the
Never hurts
schedule.
to test it out. So let me know how that goes.
Yeah, I will.
And then, what are your most popular, types of metal that you sell?
So I do the 14 karat gold filled and the sterling silver. Um, I do full or solid 14 karat gold upon request. So I always post that in my events if we do a pop up or a private event. Um, if they want it to let me know, because it is a little more expensive. I don't just keep a lot on hand,
Yeah.
especially just kind of starting out. Maybe eventually I'll have some options on hand, but as of right now, I have had no problem doing just the 14 karat gold filled. And in my opinion, I like that better.
Mhm.
It's a little more durable and is cheaper. So it's a win-win.
Yep.
But those two for sure. And I offer charms, whether it be random charms, initials, or birthstones. And those are huge, huge upsells for me.
So when you say upsells, for those watching or listening, I kind of want to dive into that. So what is your process of upselling? Do you say like, hey, would you like to add a charm or a birthstone, or like how do you do that?
So I have everything displayed out on the table for them when they get there. Um, so I have all my charms out already. So some people say, "Oh, I saw your stuff on your page and I thought I wanted this chain, but now I see everything in person and I want this one." And um like, "Oh, you have my birthstone," and just some stuff that I don't necessarily always advertise on posts. But a lot of people for the most part think they just want a bracelet, but then they see all the charms and stuff and say, "Oh, I want my kids' birthstones, my kids' initials, or my initials." Um, and that's an super easy upsell. They're not expensive to keep on hand. So yeah, it's a great thing, I think, personally, to offer.
Yeah. So how much does a typical charm or birthstone cost you versus how much you charge for it?
So majority of them are about $4 to $5, typically around the $4 range, and then I charge 15. So I try to make it reasonable, but still to where I'm seeing that profit back.
Yeah. And I know you're just starting out and you're doing great. But from what I've seen, you could even raise your prices a little bit going forward.
Yep.
I don't know if you've thought about that yet.
It's been in the back of my mind. It's more so on how to like do that respectfully without people saying like, "Oh, I thought they were 15."
Mm.
Um, so just trying to find like a strategy for that.
Okay. Cool. Maybe we can discuss that on like off camera sometime. I'm
Yeah.
always, like I know that it's scary. It's always scary to raise your prices, especially when you're starting out and stuff. But to me, that's one of the biggest things I see for most, especially for permanent jewelry, is a lot of people are like, "Well, I know it only takes 5 to 10 minutes, and so I'm scared to charge a lot of money because I feel bad about it." But I mean,
Right.
the fact is, you went through the highest quality training. You've invested a lot in your business. There's no reason to feel bad about it.
Yep.
Cool. Anything else that you wish you had known starting out, or if like someone's watching this and they're about to sign up, what would you tell them?
Stop waiting to just do it. Like if I did this, I can't imagine doing this a couple years ago or even a few months prior and being like I'm almost debt free right now because of this. And
Right.
it's something that's like if you enjoy it, it's going to come easy. And if you put all your work into it, it you're going to be successful. And I my advice is just to do it and stop waiting.
Awesome. And you said you had that fear of starting and that fear that it wouldn't work out. How did you overcome that?
Um, Honestly, my boyfriend kind of pushed me because he's like, if you ever want to get out, so when I do my when I was working at the bank, I actually did love the job, but I was missing out on a lot. So we have a house in the Ozarks, Lake of the Ozarks, where we're actually going this weekend,
Right.
and I was almost not able to go because of working at the bank, working weekends, that Saturday, Friday. Um, and so I was missing out on a lot of opportunities to just make memories with the family and everything.
Yeah.
Um, so this allows me to still make money plus more money and having that freedom. So he was actually the one who kind of said, like, if you're not going to do it now, when will you?
Yeah.
So he always says he's right. And man, he was this time.
Love that. Um, so you said you have a lake house on the Ozarks. Is it anything like the Netflix show?
um, no, not, I don't see anything like that, but still go. I mean, it's still
Yeah.
fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your story and sharing your advice. We appreciate it. If they want to follow you on Instagram, what's your profile?
So my jewelry is at ever.connected. So ever connected.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
No, thanks. I appreciated this. This was awesome.
All righty. Goodbye.
Thanks.